Welcome, my friends. It's Eric, the owner of Farpoint Farms, and tonight, a departure from our usual fare. I want to take a moment to talk about scary Halloween records, tapes, and CDs. You see, this is kind of a side passion of mine. When I was growing up as a kid, this was the way we got our thrills. There was no handheld device that gave us all the answers and all the access as we have now. There was no YouTube, there was no Spotify, there was nothing but the radio, and the radio rarely played scary stuff, even around Halloween. Although occasionally the station where I once lived would play The War of the Worlds, right? Anyway, tonight I want to take a look, and you're seeing these just scroll by. This is from my personal collection. These are records that I have collected over the years, and this was what we did. This is what we listened to. You'd slap a record on there, turn on the lights, maybe light a candle, and you'd get the opportunity to listen in to a scary, spooky story, or perhaps some scary, spooky sounds, or if you were really lucky, a scary, spooky song or two, right? This is what we did. And of course, these were super popular, starting off in the early 60s, really peaking out in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I remember in the 70s especially, you'd get tons of these things. But by the late 80s, they were starting to die down. And a lot of the ones that I have from the 80s were cassettes because it was the most popular medium. But as you can see, as we roll through here, we move into like CDs. And I'll be honest with you, it became kind of a hobby of mine every holiday season to go out and look and try to find a new holiday or a new scary CD. And usually I was looking for stories by the time I was in my teens. I wasn't so much interested in the sounds, the chains rattling, the ghosts moaning, but I was interested in the stories. And there's some really great stories, a lot of Edgar Allan Poe stuff done out here, and a lot of independent stories that were actually really, really good. And of course, mixed in with all this, there certainly are a bunch of, maybe not so great ones, but that's part of the beauty of it. As you see, here's one from Kraft, right? And look at this. This one here is from the box of, Blueberry Crunch and Count Chocula. They actually literally had those little flexi records, and they would have a scary story on there, and I have a few of those. Here's one from Edgar Allan Poe again. Oscar Van and His Young Friends. I mean, I have a lot of these that I've just come across. And of course, there were also ones from the book and record sets, and there were a lot of Star Trek ones and a lot of like Yogi Bear, stuff like that. But there were ones specifically with the Wolfman and that kind of stuff, and it was really cool. This one here in particular is a good one. And of course, Terror and the Son of Terror. Great stuff. So what I'm going to do here is, as I talk for the rest of this, I'm going to mix in just a little bit of background from some of these. I don't want to break any kind of copyright violations, and I doubt any of this stuff really is copyrighted, and I definitely have checked, and I'm fairly certain that everything I'm about to play isn't, but I might not leave this video up for as long as I leave some of my other ones, or I may re-upload it to my other channel, The Midnight Cafe. But I do want you to see this. Here's Zachary, right? He was a horror host from back in the day. The Vampire Speaks. I have this at least on a record and a CD. And as you can see, these CDs, we're going to move in the second half of this is more the CDs.
Behind the dresser.
But look at these. Look at the stories. The Telltale Heart, the Rue Morgues. I mean, it's just great stuff. Night of the Witch, The Headless Horseman's Revenge. These stories were awesome. So good, in fact, that Disney got into it. The Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean. These were ones that I actually picked up on my honeymoon. These two right here. And yeah, they had these on record before, and I have the record, the story of the Haunted Mansion from Disney back in the late 70s or early 80s. But again, on CD releases, this stuff was quite popular. Every year you'd go out to Walmart or Kmart or the Dollar General, and you'd find these things. And usually they were $1 or $2 by the time they came out on CD. Although some of the tapes were still also very inexpensive, and you'd find them in the, the dollar bin there as well. But about the time the 2000s started to get really starting rolling, like 2003, 2004, you started to notice that these things started to disappear. And it may be a little hard for you to read in the pictures here, but you can see the copyright on a lot of these when they came out originally. 2001 on this one, 1996 the original release. So literally 2004, I would say, was the last time I was able to successfully go out and find one of these CDs, at a store during Halloween. And of course, there's a lot of reasons for that. But mostly, it just has to do with the internet. Just like everything else, the way we collected our media, I should say, changed, right? We started to collect our media by just going and watching our YouTube videos and listening to our internet radio stations or downloading the songs we liked or the scary stuff we liked. But a lot of this stuff just disappeared. A lot of this niche product, right? It just didn't survive. There's no Spotify Halloween Creepy Stories channel. There's no Apple iTunes Tales from Beyond Halloween's Greatest Stories CD that I can find. So these things just kind of disappeared. And as such, they've become kind of rare. And there's other guys and gals out there that collect these records and tapes and CDs, and some of them will share these things on various websites. I'm not going to list any of those here tonight, but I do want you to know that the last time I saw a new CD in the store it wasn't even in a plastic case. It came in a paper case, and I'm going to show you some of them here as we go through these. And they were $1 a piece, and I picked up 3 or 4 of them, I think. This Scary Stories one here that you're looking at, that one that just ended, and this Haunted Gettysburg, those are more modern. These are guys and gals. Look at that one's 2007. These were, the first one there is a reproduction of a record, and the Gettysburg one is something that I think they have 3 or 4 volumes of. But we were up in Gettysburg. I decided to pick one up for the ride home. Pretty good stuff. And of course, some of this is music too, and usually it's not like the copyrighted music. It's well, here you can see classical music, you know. And the ones that do have songs, like let's say it's Thriller or Ghostbusters or whatnot, well, they're usually remakes. They're not original stuff. They're just kind of redone to save money. I mean, these are very inexpensive, and of course they're aimed at children. But I think people of all ages can get a kick out of stuff like this. Although some are certainly more aimed towards children than adults, there are some that are quite scary even for adults. The best stories, of course, are the true stories, and there's plenty of them in here. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you. Again, I'm going to play a little bit here and there as I talk, and you can get a sound for what exactly is in there. And there's even these modern musical mixtures, which really I did not like, but I found these on eBay sometime around 2010. And they're interesting. You might find these CDs, and you'll certainly find records, although be prepared to pay dearly if you want to buy these records, because a lot of them have become quite classics. Most of them getting thrown away when people grew up and were no longer into this sort of stuff. And so they just got tossed, never realizing that because they were kind of rare in the first place, that they might have some pretty significant value as time went on. There is one guy, and I'm going to talk about him, and then I'm just going to let the camera roll here. And that is Mr. Lobo. He is a horror host here in the United States. Been on the air for, I think, 12 or 13 years now. Still doing stuff. He has his own station, OSI 74 on the Roku. And it's a free station if you've never seen Mr. Lobo. He was a California horror host, much in the same vein as Sven Gulli or Elvira or Zach Lurie or any of the hundreds of others that were all over the country back in the day. He took it upon himself to remake a certain album, and you know the artwork is such a beautiful homage to one of these records that you saw here early on. But his is called The Very Horrible Bad Manner, I believe it is, and I bought it from him when it came out, and I gotta say it's actually a great little set of short stories, some comedy, and of course some horror mixed in there. And if you have never checked it out, go on over. He has no idea I'm going to say this about him, but I don't know where you would go to purchase this record. But find Mr. Eric Lobo and find him on the internet. Find OSI 74. Perhaps there's a website for that. Hunt him down and see if he still has the terrible tales from the. Gosh, I can't even remember the name of it, but it's going to be the last record you see, or the last CD you see here in this little scroll. There it is, Mr. Horrible Noises of Mr. Lobo's Very Bad Manner. Beautiful, beautiful, and it's just well done. Listen, it's Halloween, and I just want to say thanks to all my fans. This is my favorite holiday. I wanted to share this with you. For those that don't know about this, go on out, do a little digging. Maybe you can find some of these to download online. And on WFPF Radio, starting Friday morning, I'm going to play these records in my collection that have been ripped to MP3. I'm going to play them for 48 hours, right through to Halloween. Until next time, my friends, take care.
Up on a junk-covered hill is a dilapidated old manor. Manor being a popular maker of mobile homes and trailers 50 years ago. Some say it's haunted, but you don't believe in such silly nonsense.